And greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you. Today is Amnesty International's International Day of Action for Troy Davis, a death row inmate down in Atlanta, Georgia. And it seemed like that's a good news hook and good segue for a discussion of the death penalty in the United States. On the line with us right now is Dudley Sharp. HomicideSurvivors.com is his website. Dudley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You, sir, are an advocate of the death penalty in the United States. Why?
I believe in some cases that a jury should be given the option of the death penalty for particularly heinous crimes.
Why?
Well, we all come to a conclusion as to what we believe is a just punishment for certain crimes. And for truly horrendous crimes, particularly murders, I believe that it's just to take away completely life of the murderer, just as some people believe that their freedom should be completely taken away for their lives.
So you consider murder justified?
No, there is, both legally and morally, there's a distinct difference between murder and execution. Let me give you an example. For instance, you probably would not equate illegal kidnapping and legal incarceration, although both of those are holding someone against their will.
But neither of those are murder.
No, my point is kidnapping and legal incarceration are morally different. Murder and execution are morally different.
I would suggest to you, Dudley Sharp, that the reason why, for example, so many mysteries in the fiction realm, you know, there's this entire genre of murder mysteries. They always involve murders. They don't involve kidnappings or shoplifting or anything else. And it's because that's stepping over the largest taboo that we have, which is taking the life of another human being. And there is nothing that you can compare to that.
I agree. That's why there's a different sanction available for it than there is for lesser crimes, because it is completely different. What you were just trying to do was to equate morally murder and execution.
I'm not just trying to do it, I'm doing it.
No, but
I'm saying that execution is state-sanctioned murder, just like war is state-sanctioned murder, and I think that we should try to outlaw both.
Can I talk?
You are.
Okay. Your comparison is void of moral reasoning, and the reason it is because a murder, let's look at it, give an example, the rape and murder of children. That's an undeserved punishment of an innocent child. Then you look at the person that committed the rape.
That's not a punishment.
Yes, it is a punishment.
For what crime?
I'm making a point that murder and execution are completely different morally, just as kidnapping and legal incarceration are different. One is a punishment, one is a crime. If you can't make a distinction between, for instance, an innocent victim and a guilty perpetrator, then your murder execution moral comparison is correct. But most people don't have an amoral view of sanctions. Sanctions are based on a punishment for a wrong that was committed. And people usually can differentiate between an illegal crime against an innocent person and a just sanction against a guilty perpetrator. That's what I'm saying.
So the bottom line, what you're suggesting here is that if the state kills somebody, that it's okay, that if somebody other than a state actor, other than society kills somebody, it's not okay.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. In some cases, the state may, as we all know, we know that the state can kill people improperly, unjustly, and illegally. What I'm talking about is the difference between crime and punishment, a murderer and a victim, and a crime and a punishment. There's a huge moral difference.
But my point is that a victim is not receiving punishment. A victim is on the receiving end of a crime.
That's what I just said.
The word punishment is not appropriate.
We're talking past each other. I'm trying to have a reasonable conversation here, and if you can't morally differentiate between crime and punishment, then we need to move on to another subject.
I'm not sure what I'm missing.
What you're doing is equating murder and execution.
Yes.
What you're saying is all killings are morally the same.
Yes, I am saying that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I'm saying that I think that we should outlaw war. That's why we created the United Nations, and I think that we should outlaw the death penalty, which has been done by virtually every civilized nation in the world. I mean, we find ourselves in the company now of Somalia, of Sudan, of the Democratic Republic of Congo, of Chad. I mean, Bangladesh, the countries that still, Iran, the country in Saudi Arabia, you can be executed for witchcraft. The countries that still have the death penalty, I don't think, are the countries that we want to hold up as role models for how we want to be in the United States.
Again, what you're doing is making an intellectually vacuous argument. Let me give you an example. For instance, you're just picking the same countries that all the anti-death penalty sites pick. You could pick Japan, Singapore, Jamaica, and various other countries.
I've been to Singapore. I don't think we want to be like Singapore.
What I'm saying, though, is, for example, Western Europe, that group of countries whose governments most fight against the death penalty, even the majority of their citizens agreed that the execution of Saddam Hussein was an appropriate sanction for the crimes that he had committed. Just because certain countries' governments are against the death penalty doesn't mean that they are correct. And simply because the United States supports the death penalty and a lot of other countries that neither you nor I approve of doesn't mean that the just implementation of the death penalty in the United States is wrong.
Well, it seems to me that it's wrong when for every 8 people executed in the United States since 1976, 1 has been exonerated. In the state of Georgia, for every 6 people executed since 1976, 1 has been exonerated. We're obviously putting to death innocent people in this country, A. B, we're saying to our children, murder is okay if we do it. It's just not okay if you do it.
Again, both of those examples are intellectually vacuous.
And
let me finish. I'm responding to what.
Well, I was in the middle of my sentence, sir. And in Canada, which has put an end to the death penalty, whereas we didn't, and our murder rates were virtually identical at the time that Canada had the death penalty and we had the death penalty. Their murder rate has not gone up or down relative to ours, and neither is ours. In fact, you look at both the Denver study and the University of Colorado studies in 2002 and 2003, and 2006 research at Emory University. All of them demonstrated that really there's no statistical correlation that can be drawn because the number of executions is so small between the death penalty and its impact on crime. In fact, you can jigger the numbers to make it look like executions decrease crime, or you can jigger the numbers to make it look like executions increase homicides.
Okay, now I'll respond. On the innocence issue, we have sentenced 8,000 people to death since 1973. Out of those, possibly 25, not the 130 that you're alleging, possibly 25 of those may have been actually innocent, or 0.3% of those that have been convicted. All of those 25 and or the 130 that you're using, all of those have been released from death row. None were executed.
Well, you're not looking at the
No. I'm responding to your points. Let me do that. I tried to interrupt you, and you wouldn't allow it. My turn.
Okay, you have a half a minute.
Okay. On deterrence issue, you're completely misstating the 16 recent studies, inclusive of their defenses, which find for death penalty deterrence. Those 16 studies find that there is a manner of deterrence which does not go away. They all found that the death penalty deterred crime and deterred murder. That was the finding of those 16 studies. Anything to the contrary is just not true.
All right, John Donahue, the Yale Law School professor, research associate at the National Bureau of Economic Research, Justin Walters at the Wharton School of Business, and also research affiliate at NABER, looked at the same data, the Emory and Denver studies that you're citing, and said on balance, the evidence suggests the death penalty may actually increase the murder.
They're wrong.
Okay. Well, I guess it comes down to that. People can check out your website and make up their own mind. Dudley Sharp, homicidesurvivors.com is his website. Dudley, thanks for dropping by today.
Thank you so much.
16 minutes past the hour.